back at the beautiful Lagasse Stadium and Sportsbook here at the Palazzo Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am Joe Fortenbaugh, National Football Post, joined again by Chuck Esposito, my man from the Venetian Palazzo. He's here today to help us break down 5 of the biggest games in the NFL this weekend. Chuck, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Joe. I'm doing great. Thanks, buddy.
Now talk a little bit about where we are. Last time we were in a luxury suite. This time we are actually outside here at the Lagasse. You can watch games outside here?
You can watch games outside here. As we talked about last time, there's a number of different seating options. We're in a luxury box. Now we're on the beautiful patio of Lagasse Stadium here at the Palazzo. Just one of the options to relax and enjoy football on any given NFL Sunday.
I have bothered Chuck all week about getting these seats inside. We will see on Sunday if he comes through. He's claiming he will. So
I came through, Joe, believe me. That's a lock this week, guys. That is a lock.
That's the one lock of the week. But we're going to try to get you some good information moving forward on 5 big games starting at 1 o'clock in the AFC as the Tennessee Titans 0-1 coming off a loss 16-14 at Jacksonville play host to a Baltimore Ravens team who absolutely rolled their division rival, their hated rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers, 35-7 in Baltimore last Sunday. When you take a look at this game, you think Baltimore blowout. You absolutely think it. Why shouldn't we think that?
Well, you do think, and you look at Baltimore, that's the first time that Joe Flacco has ever beaten Ben Roethlisberger. They have to be in an emotional high. 7 turnovers in that game against the Tennessee Titans, who really struggled week 1. They were down by double digits, 2 late touchdowns. Really, the game wasn't as close as the score, but I think the key there is Chris Johnson. He missed all of preseason, and that was evident. Less than 10 carries, under 40 yards. Their offense doesn't tick without Chris Johnson. Look for Chris Johnson to get 20 to 25 carries here. That's the key, and maybe this is a little bit of a letdown game for the Ravens coming off that big win against their arch rivals, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I was going to say, you think to yourself, maybe the point spread skyrockets when it opens, but it doesn't end up doing that. It's certainly a game to keep an eye on.
They are on the road, too. I mean, there's a divisional game on the road, and sometimes after an emotional game like that, teams do have that letdown. I don't think the Titans can play any worse than they did. Look for them to bounce back a little bit with Hasselbeck and Kenny Britt. They had 2 long scores. Maybe they get on the same page, and it opens up some stuff for Chris Johnson. They need Johnson to have those 25 carries and keep the Ravens off the field.
They just paid him to do it. Let's see if they let him off the chain this Sunday. Moving to the NFC, also at 1 o'clock, the 1-0 Chicago Bears make their way south to take on an 0-1 New Orleans team that's on extra rest. They came 1 play from having a shot to tie it up in the NFL opener, but they fall 42-34 at Green Bay. Meanwhile, the Bears manhandle the Atlanta Falcons 30-12 in Chicago. Different story this week, though. Bears are headed indoors. They're headed into Drew Brees' backyard. Very tough place to play. What do you make of this game?
I love this game, Joe. I mean, when the schedule came out, you look at the Bears. Week 1 against Atlanta, Week 2 against New Orleans, Week 3 against Green Bay. Many people thought they could lose all 3 games. They win the first game by beating Atlanta, but this might be a little bit of a look-ahead game for the Bears, and I think that's evident in the number. I mean, you look at a Bear team, if they can go 2-1 in this stretch, that is monumental for them. This was the tough piece of their schedule. Interesting stat here, Lovie Smith is 3-0 against Sean Payton, but all 3 wins have come at Soldier Field. Can the Saints actually start 0-2? It'd be an uphill battle from there, guys, and you know the Bears with the situation with Brian Urlacher, with the tragic passing of his mother, there'll be a lot of emotion there. Our hearts and prayers go out to Brian Urlacher, and 18 Bear starters don't have a contract for next year. Excuse me, 18 Bear players, 8 of those guys starters. So maybe this Bear team has a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and a lot of people forget they played in the NFC Championship game last year.
Anybody that you see scared off by New Orleans after the 0-1 start, or possibly more people jumping on the Chicago Bears train after the 1-0 start?
I think it's more jumping on the Bears train. You look at a defense now that only rushes 4 guys. They put a lot of pressure on Matt Ryan. They had 5 sacks. They hit him in the mouth 10 times. The Bears play that cover too, probably better than anybody else right now. They disguise those coverages. If the Bears come away with a win here, you have to be a believer. The Saints have had 10 days to prepare for this game, as you said earlier. So, I mean, they'll be ready. They're indoors. Can the Bears' offensive line protect Cutler with that crowd noise? They were still sacked as well 5 times against the Falcons, so I think that's the key right now. But a much bigger game for the Saints. They can't afford to go 0-2. Bears are 1-1 and they play Green Bay next week. That's their early season test.
Shootout alert in the AFC as the 1-0 San Diego Chargers head to Foxborough to take on Tom Brady and the 1-0 Patriots. We got a good look at a Tom Brady offense that, what can we say, vintage Tom Brady, 500 passing yards in a 38-24 win at Miami Monday night. Now they return home to bring in a San Diego team that had some good success against Minnesota, 24-17 in San Diego. This is a team that struggled on the East Coast in years past. They tend to get off the slow starts under Norv Turner. When you look at this game, people are thinking shootout. Any reason we shouldn't be thinking shootout?
I can't imagine why. I mean, you look at what New England gave up on Monday night, over 400 yards to any. I mean, that Miami offense was in sync. It was their defense that really lacked performance that night. And you're right about the Chargers. That slow start under Norv the last 3 years has really hurt them. Number 1 in offense, number 2 in defense, but they really struggled on special teams. What do they do in the opening kickoff of the season? They give up a 100-yard kick return to Percy Harvin. Right. I think this is a game that you're going to see a lot of points, a lot of scoring, and you know, New England's looking to make a statement. I think the Chargers were that vogue team in the offseason that a lot of people like because of their offense and their defense. If they get special teams worked out, wow, and they make some noise. But a big New England win here, say they win by double digits or going away, I think they make a statement early on. The Patriots are back, and they're the team to beat in the AFC.
Interesting game to keep an eye on in Detroit this weekend as the Lions, who know when was the last time they had a winning record? 1-0, coming off a 27-20 win at Tampa Bay. They return home to the fast track in Detroit. They're out of the humidity that was Tampa Bay last week, and they bring in an 0-1 Kansas City team. Worst home loss in 35 years to the Buffalo Bills, 41-7. The wheels look like they're off the bus in Kansas City. This is a game where a lot of people, I mean, it's set where people are thinking Detroit is a blowout. Any chance Kansas City turns around? Should they be in this game, or is it as bad as it looks?
It's hard to say. That you look at the Chiefs, who were beaten handily in the playoffs last year against the Ravens, and most people thought they'd be competitive in that game. Very poor preseason, where it looked like the wheels had come off. And week 1, as you said, they get beat by the Buffalo Bills. I can't believe I'm saying this, Joe, but the Detroit Lions have now won 5 straight games dating back to last season. I can't remember ever saying that about Detroit. They are that team that everyone's jumped on that bandwagon. If Stafford's healthy with Calvin Johnson and Best and Burleson, they got the weapons on offense. But is this a little bit of a letdown game for them? And let's see how Kansas City bounces back right now. I think their offense, losing their all-pro tight end, Charlie Weiss is left. They're not the same offense. They still have Jamal Charles and Dwayne Bowe, but is that enough to carry the Chiefs? And who knows, we might be talking about the Lions on a 6-game winning streak next week at this time.
Keynote in this game, Eric Berry, the all-world safety out of Tennessee, second-year man. He's out for the season with a torn ACL, suffered in week 1. Last game we're going to talk about today, it's the Sunday night game, so there's going to be a lot of people keeping an eye on this. 1-0 Philadelphia at 0-1 Atlanta. Michael Vick makes his return to the Georgia Dome. Philly coming off an impressive 31-13 win at St. Louis. Atlanta, meanwhile, as we discussed earlier, a 30-12 loss at Soldier Field. Here's the interesting thing. Eagles are the favorites on the road. Michael Vick's coming back to town. Eagles are a trendy team. And especially with Atlanta getting blown out last week, you got a lot of people who like the Eagles, but let's not forget, this is an Atlanta team. This is a different team in their dome. They win a lot of games at home. It's a tough place to play. Your thoughts on that?
They're absolutely a different team in the dome. I mean, they did get smacked in the mouth by the Bears week 1. Similar to New Orleans, can they actually start the season 0-2? You're right, Michael Vick's coming back to town. I think the key stat here for me is that these two teams have met 3 times over the last 3 years, and all 3 times Philly has won, and all 3 times by double digits. So what does that say? I mean, the speed of Philly and that offense, I think they can play well on that carpet. No question about it. Michael Vick going back home has something to prove, but Matt Ryan, Matty Ice in that dome, his home record is one of the best out of any quarterback in the league for their first 3 years. So I think it's a really intriguing matchup. You look at Saints-Bears, Chargers-Pats, and it finishes it off Sunday night with Eagles-Falcons. 3 marquee games. That one finishes it up, but that's the game I think everybody wants to see. Are the Eagles going to go 0-2 or 2-0? And can the Falcons really start the season 0-2? And they were the team with the best record in the NFC last year.
That's the word from Lagasse Stadium here at the Palazzo in Las Vegas. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. He's Chuck Esposito.
Thanks,
Jay,
Joe.
thank you very much for your help. Enjoy the games, everybody, and best of luck this weekend.